about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just a scout? I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watts Without Sound on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, Mr. EZ Blues. EZ Blues, you are better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us again on the program?
Ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you this, when you are given a gift in life, and you can use that gift to uplift, and not just uplift yourself, not just uplift your surrounding, but uplift an entire community. When you go out there to actively search for people to help, not to blow up your social medias just because it's the right thing to do. I want you to truly understand that that is a different level of human. And for that, we are truly blessed. I want you to put your hands together, not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2, because we have the fantastic, the amazing, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Joey Badass in the building. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. So nice to be on the show again. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm loving it. I look good too. My camera got me looking good this morning. I'm feeling great.
Yeah, the beard's looking sharp, man. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Y'all know the vibes, man. Joey Batch, your best friend. I'm happy to be here. Happy to talk about everything we got coming up in the future. And even though feels like winter break during our April spring break,
it does.
We're gonna talk about some fun stuff coming up this spring and summer, man. So let's get into it, guys.
Well, see, that's what's the most interesting thing, because not only do you have stuff coming up in the spring and the summer, and we're going to talk about that for real, but you're now, since the last time that we've spoken, you've actually taken those steps to move forward in doing the not-for-profit and really working on that type of aspect. So I want to talk about that for a hot minute too, and give you a little bit of your flowers.
Yeah,
because
of course.
You're continuing to fulfill this dream of hip hop for the homeless. Can you give, for the people that are just tuning in right now, can you give them a little brief overview of hip hop for the homeless and the steps in which you're making?
Absolutely. This past December that just passed, we celebrated our 11th year of hip hop for homeless, which in short is just a way for us to put on live hip hop rap concerts in Connecticut, branching out into other spots, other states in New England, where we pair with either a soup kitchen or a homeless shelter in that specific town or district. And all the money and all the collections and all the donations that we get on the night of a show would go directly to the other nonprofits that we pair with. So if we do a show in New Haven, we're pairing with a homeless shelter in New Haven. When we do a show in Hartford, we're pairing with a nonprofit in Hartford of professionals who work with the homeless and the displaced throughout the year. So it's our little way as Connecticut hip hop artists and R&B artists to kind of form a little movement that kind of gives something to the community that really needs it. And it's been amazing. Every year we do multiple show runs, we do multiple week runs, and it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. We've kind of seen that incremental growth. And through 11 years, I think we're somewhere around like $40,000 raised, which is pretty cool for like a grassroots movement.
First of all, that's amazing for a grassroots movement, and I've watching it grow from the 1 or 2 spots to what are you up to, like 12 spots now?
Yeah, we've been doing like 10 or 11, 12 shows. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Seeing that kind of evolve and seeing the talent that follows through with it and really shows up. It's not like you're just not knocking anybody out there and never pour salt on anyone else's hustle, but you're not just having the best on the block there. You're having some of the heavy hitters that have come through that you've had Chesky on the on Bills.
Yeah. That's my guy. Been down since year 1. Yeah,
exactly. So, this is something that's a phenomenal opportunity to help people not only grow their fan base when they're on the starting aspect of it, but also really take their talent and give back. A lot of people knock hip hop because it's, it glorifies violence and it does all of this other thing. And, But here it is where hip hop itself is giving back to the community, which is very much the roots of hip hop and how it started. So I love that for you, and I love every aspect of that.
That sparked
Thank
a
you so
question.
much.
I love how you said that, Easy. That definitely sparked a question.
You're
People
welcome.
said that back in the day, how hip hop is so violent and arrogant. How, yeah, exactly. I love my finger pointing, but how it's so violent, arrogant, and doing all these bad stereotypes on it. And now, as we go into 2025, it's the 180 now. They're using hip hop to promote everything, even bad agendas, which I'm not going to say. In your perception, how do you feel about that?
It's really tough, right?
Yeah.
It's tough for me because I think that especially within like the last couple of years when hip hop starts to really run its parallel future that's kind of like intertwined with like the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in the local hip hop scene have either questioned my intent as a hip hop artist, or has either just even like questioned my gangster as being like a white man who like lives and thrives and who has been successful in this space. So I've definitely had to like check any, even if I don't feel privileged, even if I know like I'm from the streets or whatever, right? Like I still need to check that. So when I think about hip hop being used for certain agendas, we would be stupid. We would be completely ignorant to not think about race first. Like I think we have to center that race, and hip hop might be the only genre where we truly have to center that race, which is why like Eminem conversation will always be polarizing. You know, like he's come forward and he's been public about like his forefathers and how he understands who Spaces truly is. Right. So when we think about how hip hop has become like a way to like push agendas, it's concerning because I know people who are outright haters of hip hop, but they'll sing a Burger King jingle where like they're using like rap or like, you know, it's gimmicky. It always feels gimmicky, but I know for a fact that like the people who live and breathe this stuff, they believe in it. They live this. This is their life, right? The communities, the families, the people who have these really deep roots through 50 years now, right? Like, so it's not a gimmick, but I think a lot of industry people, I think a lot of the people who are like up there kind of still feel like it doesn't have the same storied history as like a rock, as like a country, as like you know, one of these other genres that might be populated with more white folks.
Well, and that's the main thing, because and if you actually did the people to do the history and do the research into it, it's these other genres have been so whitewashed.
You
know, because there would be no rock and roll without Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Let's be real. She is the queen of rock and roll. You know, Elvis Presley wants to say he's the king of rock and roll, but you wouldn't have Elvis Presley without Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And not speaking greatly of Chuck Berry, because we all know what kind of human being he was. So I'm just, you know, being real with things. So I truly see that this is the first time where we can really focus on how the genre started, because it's such a young genre. We saw it at its infancy. We see it now and its middle age. And it's growing and it's completely morphing. And now you are having those moments where you're like singing, I don't know, Baby Got Back, and you're like, oh no, I'm singing about a burger now. That's not good. That's not cool. Yeah. I don't really dig that. You know, just to watch your lifestyle become like, I remember during the grunge time, I was a kid that was wearing flannel normally because it was cold, and that was the stuff you could get at the thrift store at a cheap price. And then to watch flannel walk down the aisle of you know, major fashion runways was kind of heartbreaking, because it felt like they were stealing from you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very difficult to try to go through those growing pains. And it's really awesome to be able to sit back and watch this now, because this is the first genre where we can be held accountable. Because again, we've seen it from its infancy all the way until its middle age.
Yeah. But when you think, right, because like P, you bring up a really good point. Like when you start to think about the way that it's used, and like this is a negative connotation, but like how is it like weaponized? You got guys like Machine Gun Kelly, Post Malone, big names who started out in the rap game, realizing and finding, whether it's them or the team behind them, that like they could get more publicity, they could make more money in other veins, in other genres. So a big part of hip hop for the homeless is, you know, our mission statement says like changing the stigma of the homeless and the displaced and the houseless at the same time that we're changing the stigma of hip hop, because we're also playing stages and we're playing rooms where we might be the only hip hop show in a calendar year. So it's a double-edged sword, because it says a lot about the room and it says a lot about the owner for not booking other hip hop acts, but it also says a lot for the product that I myself and the people are putting on stage, and how those shows are not indicative of any negative stigmas that might unfortunately happen at other hip hop shows and other instances.
How hard was that starting out hip hop for the homeless? Did people think it was a crazy idea, or people are really on board with it from the first start?
It originally started when I was probably at my most popular in Connecticut. So Joey Bats and my touring band at the time, Joey Bats and them, we had no issues getting in rooms. We had no issues booking. We had no issues like getting people to the stage. I think the hardest part was what you kind of mentioned in your previous question, was the braggadocious ego that goes hand in hand with hip hop so much. So I think the biggest sell was, hey, you know, insert local rapper's name, right? Like you are going to, will you do this show where you will not get compensated for your time? The expectation is that we're building something larger. The expectation is that we're doing something for a bigger cause. And we're also going to try our hardest to not make it about you. Right. So, you know, if I'm Joey Bats, I'm going to a show. If I'm on a show with like 4 or 5 other acts on it, I'm still letting people know like I'm rapping. Right. Like I want you to show up. I'm the greatest. I'm the GOAT. I got the best bars here. You know what I'm saying? I got the stage presence. I'm the best MC, Mr. Move the Crowd, yada, 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 yada. It's hard to put that in the back seat and be like, yo, you need to show up for a great night. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. We're trying to raise money for this. Please come with an open heart, open pockets, and open mind, and, you know, stay throughout the night because it's going to be great and there's going to be multiple acts. That don't even sound like a hip hop promotion. You know what I'm saying? So so it's very, very different to try to get people to sell that. So I will say that like years 1 and 2, you know, I definitely cashed in like the best friend card with people that I had really good relationships with. And then like, I guess once people realized that it wasn't going anywhere, and once we started to get a little bit more press, I think people wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what you do, and we truly appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those harebrained Joey Bats ideas where like you stick to your guns enough, and you let people know that what you're doing is real and it's not like a flash in the pan kind of situation. And I think people really start to appreciate that. And for a lot of folks, both the nonprofits and the workers in these shelters and kitchens, and also the artists, it's become like the most wonderful time of year, because it falls right between Thanksgiving and Christmas, where you need like an extra boost when you start to get bogged down by like the holiday expectations.
Throughout all these
now, sorry. And now you're actually growing past just that time of year. You're taking it even further. You see, now what we were talking about, we got some stuff coming up in the spring and the summer. So that's the perfect transition to talk about the spring and the summer.
There we go.
transition. Yeah, now that we are a fully incorporated nonprofit, one of the big goals for us as we continue to grow is not to remain stagnant, or I guess we're not stagnant, but not to remain predictable and only have that one big event in December. Can we find other state funding? Can we find other funding in other pockets and write some grants to do some other things throughout the year? And I would love to do events every 4 quarters. I think that would be great. It's nice to be able to try to think about planning events, because we might not be able to hit every market that we need to,
right?
Every town in need that we need to throughout December. So, if we don't get a chance to do a show in Fairfield County in December,
Right.
how can we book, a show there another time? So it might not be a part of the December tour, but we're still able to do something in that city to help that town out. Because we don't want to have to replace it. Like, we can't just say, oh, we're not doing Manchester this December because we want to help out people in Fairfield County. And then Manchester's like, so I guess we don't get any aid this year. So what really happens with that? So, yeah, the point is definitely now that we could do more things throughout the year and find out kind of like what that looks like. And hopefully in a couple of years, we'll be talking about like hip hop for the homeless summer block party. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
there we go.
That'd be cool, man. That'd be real cool.
Or hip hop and the homeless in the skate park.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, talking to like the Friends of Heaven and seeing how they wanna get involved. It would definitely be great. I would love that. I would love to see that.
That'd be awesome. All right, so so what do you have now for this spring coming up?
For this spring coming up, we're working with our friends at Bread for Life in Southington, where we're gonna try to get something going in there, where we get the opportunity to do something out there and work with some local businesses who might want to kind of help us out and get the word out, and also raise some funds and raise awareness out there in like the Bristol, Plainville, Southington area. I know we're also thinking about Hip Hop for the Homeless is going to be playing like the riverfront as part of like the bigger event down there. Shout out to Riverfront Recapture and Earl from Possum and all those guys for letting me get some of the acts from Hip Hop for the Homeless on a nice bigger stage, like a free show where families and kids of all ages can see them performing. That'll be really exciting. We also have a fundraiser in New London where we're going to kind of do music and also like an art auction to kind of raise more money for what we're doing and send some of those funds to some soup kitchens down there as well. So
beautiful.
But yeah, always moving, always thinking. I had a nice conversation with my friends from Hartford Bid. Downtown Hartford. Every summer I usually do an event on Pratt Street. So we're in talks right now on how we could make that a larger event. Also working with the Yard Goats again, and going to be doing like a Hip Hop for the Homeless event around Juneteenth at the Hartford Yard Goat Stadium.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, I'll be there for that one.
Yeah,
man.
I haven't caught a Yard Goats game yet, but now it seems like I need to be
out there
for
that one. That's for a good cause. I'll be there for that one. That sounds like a good time.
The Juneteenth event is going to be awesome. I think this year they're inviting Jackie Robinson's grandson. I think he's going to
sold.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So you got a Patreon. So
yeah. There you go. I love that. I love that. That was great. And last year, our Hip Hop for the Homeless event at the stadium fell. It was a fundraiser that fell in August, and it was actually the same day that Tretch and Naughty by Nature performed on the field, like in the dugout.
I remember that. I saw videos for that. That's right.
Yeah. And I got a chance to like hop in the dugout and meet those guys, and like that was really pretty cool. So of course, I was just like, How do you get me to do that? Like, get my big old tail on a dugout. Like, I want to jump around. You know what I'm saying? I want to be there for that. So we'll see.
It's so funny because I think the other way too. I'm like, because then I'm like, okay, well, how do I get them on the bill for Hip Hop for the Homeless?
That would be pretty cool, man. That would be pretty cool. Absolutely. That's another thing that the nonprofit gives us. You know what I mean?
Right.
If we're able to raise money and being like an officially incorporated, organization,
Right.
we do have the opportunity to allocate funds for things, and that was really the reason why I decided to do it. Grassroots, I
Mm.
could have kept doing it, but there was that ceiling.
Right.
Um, but now getting the opportunity to apply for grants, like it stinks the way that that it's set up is like, I have to raise money and make money in order to raise money, right?
Right.
Like
Mm.
it's kind of broken in that regard. But now now I'm in different circles than I was.
Mm.
Now I am more legitimate, and now people know that, like, okay, I'm giving Joey Bats $200 for hip hop for the homeless, but is he just gonna buy sneakers? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, now they
Yeah.
know. Now
Yeah.
they know
Yeah.
exactly where that money's going because our books are open to the public. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think a lot of people, a lot of organizations, a lot of future sponsors feel a lot more comfortable with that.
Right.
And
Right.
because we're incorporated now, that's why we were able to work with, Hartford Hospital this past winter. We were
That's
able to
cool.
work with the Yard Goats. They were an official sponsor.
Hmm.
CT Public Radio, because they're no longer scared to attach their name to
Hmm.
to something that might give them negative press.
Right.
So that's a
Mm.
nice thing, and that's another thing that kind of helps change, the stigma of what we're doing, because we wouldn't have these big name sponsors if people were getting, stabbed or shot at these hip hop shows, or if
Right.
there were fights breaking out, or if people were throwing bottles and
Right.
causing ruckus. You know what I mean? So
And I can attest from being at a bunch of these shows that none of that happens.
yeah,
There's a lot of good vibes, a lot of good conversation. I still remember one of the shows at the State House. One of the homies jumped up there and was like, "Yeah, I've been homeless." So,
yeah,
this is for me as much as it's for them. And it was really incredible to watch and to really absorb in. So, if you have not been to a Hip Hop for the Homeless show, my suggestion is go there. If it's not in your town, it's probably in the town next to you.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven, Preston, Easy Blues with Joey Bats on the show. Joey, how did you know throughout all these years you've been doing this great program just for our state? How did you know you were making an impact? What truly just made you sit down for a couple seconds and made you realize, yo, I'm doing something great. I'm doing something that's benefiting not just me, but for the people around me and more.
Yeah. I appreciate that question a lot, man.
Mm,
I think that, well, especially myself, I'm really guilty of, like, battery in my back, pushing forward,
Mhm.
Thomas the engine, never stopping. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
right.
as I continue to do this, as I continue to make sure that this is something that I still love, I don't think I would be able to do it if I didn't, take a step back and slow down and really reflect. So I appreciate that question a lot. I think it falls into like three different areas. I think it's I don't know if it's like S tier, A tier, B tier, you know what I mean? But I think one of the things is kind of what we just talked about, like the rappers, the
Mhm.
acts that say, like, yo, bro, you have no idea, like, how important this is to me. Like,
Right.
I was homeless for a little bit, or like things were tough, I was sleeping in my car, you know what I mean? Or
Mm,
like me and my girl broke up and like I had nowhere to stay, and like,
Mhm.
I couldn't go nowhere. Like my mom didn't let me come back home. Like
Right.
hopefully, I would assume, hopefully they were never like under the bridge, sleeping on the street, homeless. But
right.
there's so there's so many levels of being displaced.
Right.
We used to, when we were younger, we would romanticize couch surfing, but come to find out, like, couch surfing is a form of being houseless. You know what I
Right.
Mm,
mean? Like, it's not always that fun.
Right.
So I think that was one thing where I was just like, and sometimes I don't hear it until they're on stage and they
Right.
say it,
wow.
and I'm like, bro, what? Like, I didn't. And then they come to me after they perform, and they were just like, okay, this bear hug is a little bit more realer than
Mhm.
your average big bear hug. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, this
Hmm.
isn't just like, yo, you my man bear hug. This is like, I needed that. It was extremely cathartic. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you helped me close a chapter in my life by being on the other side of this.
Yep.
So that definitely hits hard. I think the other thing that really hits is like we've been really conscious. I myself have been really conscious in the last 6 or 7 years to make sure that I'm not just showing up at these shelters after the show with money, with a check, with an online donation. So we've tried to like get the workers and the volunteers to come to our shows. We've tried to get them to be a bigger part of it. We've either asked them to come set up some pamphlets, come check out what we're doing, even come in the beginning of the night, take a couple photos, let me thank you, you know what I mean? Like really that human connection. And because it's not just about the money, we always have a big old pile of canned goods, of box goods, of clothing, of since COVID, new garments, new material, brand new coats, brand new thermals, brand new underwear, brand new toiletries, with tags still on them that are going to go to people in need, and the morning after or the week after, where we get to bring that to those places. That makes it all like super personable, and that really is one of those things where like you see how thankful they are, because asking for money, asking for donations, I mean that's a tale as old as time, you know what I mean? Like so I think that they see how jaded people get. Here they are, here's this homeless shelter asking for more money, asking for more donations. So when we're just willingly volunteering it, no one asked us to, you know what I mean? No one told us we should do this. That is one of those like very like Freudian id moments where you just feel like a different, you get to see how the impact in someone else, and there's no place for ego in that situation at all, and then I think the other one is just the handful of times where I've been putting donations in my car, getting them ready to go to a donation, even the night of a show, because the bar manager is like, yo, you got to get this stuff out of here, bro. I got people coming in to drink tomorrow for happy hour. I don't need these, I don't need this stuff in the corner of my establishment. So, after a show where, I got all the people helping me, all the volunteers helping me, all some of the artists, piling up my trunk. And there's been a handful of times where, there's been someone, outside. There's been someone who's been, I don't want to say like bold enough, because it's not the proper adjective, because there's no greater state of being humble than asking someone for something that will help you stay alive. And that's one of those things. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like this, I know this guy isn't asking for money, or I know this person isn't struggling because they want to. Like, remember, we're doing these shows December 1st through December 20th. Like, it ain't warm, bro.
No, it's cold outside. It's New England.
We in Connecticut, you feel me? Like, we in New England, like, this is probably one of the worst places to be displaced, and probably one of the coldest places. And like I mentioned before, since COVID, the plight of beds has been very, very low. So we're seeing the highest percentage and the highest number of people who are being turned away. And not due to them, just due to space, just due because like, if a sickness or another sort of kind of like epidemic, pandemic, plague goes through these places, they could really shut them down and do more harm than good. So they're still outside. So there's been times where I've given gloves to people. I've put a coat or a hoodie on somebody's back. I gave them a box of ramen noodles, evaporated milk, any sort of like sustenance that can help them or their people out. And that's been one of those things where it's just like, that's the thing that kind of hits you. You know what I mean? We played a show, Cafe 9, this past year, and like I saw my homie Sketch, the Cataclysm, like he took his gloves off. right in front of a dude. Here you go, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I know you're pushing your cart, and like your knuckles are the first thing that hit that cold. So here you go, and no thought behind it, no pause, no like apprehension like whatsoever. So it was one of those moments where it was just like, all right, you see exactly what we're doing. It's not just, it doesn't, these donations don't go into a void somewhere, and like,
Right.
and you get to check that box, right? Thanks, Jesus Christ, I'm going to heaven now, right? Like,
Yay!
you know what I mean? Like you get to actually, it's not just like I did good today. My karma's clean. I could sleep good now. It's like, okay, I did something. I gave something to someone, and I know that they're going to use it.
Yeah.
So I
It's not for a waste.
it's not. And that's why I appreciate that question, because that is the first thing that I think of when I think about the headache of booking shows. I think about like how to manage a roster of 85 performers and make everybody happy. I definitely find myself remembering like, this is why we're doing it. Right. It's not so Joey Bats could be in the paper again. You know what I mean? This is the reason why we're doing it. So it definitely helps. And then when I get to see it secondly, or tertiary, through the people that I've have uplifted through this process, then they start to feel the same ways. And then like, then I feel like I'm just over 9,000. I like go like Super Saiyan, and I'm just like, yeah, we get it. You know what I'm saying? Like now it's a truly a positive pyramid,
It's the impact.
Yeah.
It definitely is the impact. And I think it's also therapy for these people too, because a lot of homeless feel that they're part of the voiceless, that they're part of this gap that they can't get out of. And it's a double-edged sword. It really is, because like you want to help these people, but some people feel that they can't. And I think we need events like this to realize that it can happen to us too. No matter how good that we think about this life, no matter how great we feel in a position, God can give you a 180. Like no one ever realizes that. So keep doing what you're doing. Go for it. And I'm happy that you got 85 plus performers, and I'm really happy for this. I really am. It's definitely a big step. It really is. But I don't want to cut loose what Easy's about to say, because I know he's about to preach some gospel.
Well, no, it's super interesting because especially nowadays where everyone does it. You didn't do it unless you did it for the gram or anything like that. I love how you say, I'm not doing this just to see my name in the paper again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Look, you're a phenomenal teacher. If you want your name in the paper, one of your students can blossom and do something huge in that aspect. There's other ways in which you can get your name in the paper. You go out and do this, and it's very interesting because I kind of feel, I don't know, maybe it's different, maybe it's not, but I kind of feel that we have a similar path aspect of, I do this kind of stuff, and then like, oh yeah, I'll still play your game of smile, shake hands, and different things like that. But I'm really just doing this. If I could take myself out of the picture and it could just run itself, that would be dope. And I could just run behind and be the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. That would be awesome. But I understand that the great, powerful Oz must show up and network and do all that kind of stuff as well. Do you find yourself fighting between those two?
The quick answer is I would love for this to be sustainable enough where I no longer have to do what I do. Right. I don't see an end in sight. No. Just the same way we don't see the issue of homelessness being solved. Right. Sadly. So there will always be the need for fundraising. There will always be the need for volunteer. There will always be the need for folks to come together for a good cause and an artistic cause, and then give it to something greater than themselves. So but in 10, 15 years, I would love to just be someone who helps them book acts, or I would love to just be the Russell Simmons who comes out at the end of the night, you know what I mean? Thank you. Peace. You know what I mean? Like I would love to be that, you know what I mean? Especially as I start to transition from an artist in the trenches to someone who just helps open those doors that
Right.
the gatekeepers are keeping closed. You know,
Right.
I would love to be that figurehead. Unfortunately, as we are a new nonprofit, every single person that I've met in this circle, or the people who run successful nonprofits, especially where I live in like Greater Hartford County,
Right.
people are, I have to sell people on myself, and
Yes.
once they believe in me, they'll believe in the cause.
Right.
Or better yet, once they believe in me, they'll just write blank checks.
Yes.
And it stinks, you know. It really does. It's the bureaucratic nature that a lot of the common folk don't get a chance to see.
Right.
It's a lot of the things, even as artists, you get to see the great show on stage. You don't see the struggle of getting on stage, booking of right. That's a tangent I don't want to even get on. But you know, the once they know that hip hop for the homeless is legit, once they know that Joey Bats is legit and that we're doing something, it puts us on a way different echelon. It already has. It already has put us on a different echelon where people recognize what we're doing. And I can't say people are sheep, but I can say that, like, once you are once you have a cosign, once you have a
Right.
legitimate cosign, I think the dominoes start to fall a little
Right.
bit easier, right? So
Okay.
like, you get a big sponsor like Hartford Healthcare, you know, Joe's Sandwich Shop isn't gonna bat an eye. If Hartford
Right.
Healthcare is willing to do X, Y, and Z, then you got my, you know what I'm saying? Boom, there you go. You know what I mean? So it's like
Absolutely.
the same cosign you need on a podcast, the same cosign, the same way. If I'm making hoodies and I get someone famous to wear my hoodie, I'm gonna get more hoodie sales.
Yep.
Right. Like that's just the life we, you know, I just need that guy, you know, I believe in this cosign, you know what I mean? And then everybody's gonna hop on that wave. So that's definitely why the Wizard of Oz needs to be out in the open still, so people get it. But it is certainly at a point where I have had a lot of help. Like,
Right.
my homie Muggsy books the New Britain show. Sometimes I don't know who's playing the New Britain show until I see the flyer.
Nice.
Sometimes I have to call him up and be like, put my name on the flyer. You know what I'm saying? So that's a beautiful thing, right? That's a beautiful thing. You know, like, Sketch can book the New Haven show and be like, yo, I'm thinking about A, B, C, and D. Are you cool with that? Yeah, absolutely. Do you have room for one of my homies up north to come play a show? You know what I mean? Like, that's a great thing. I do have an amazing board. I do have a lot of guys who help me with the shows, and they recognize how difficult it is to do what we do and how crazy the time of year is. So we're able to definitely kind of help out with that aspect. So I can be more of a figurehead. And I mean, I would say even in the last 2 years, if you've come to a show, you won't even see me on stage. You know, I'm just the guy behind the merch table. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Give me a pound, give me a hug. You know what I'm saying? Give me your monetary donations here. Take a t-shirt. Hey, you want a flick? You know what I mean? Like, and so people are coming. They don't even want to hear me rap. They're all, ain't nobody want to see me on stage. You know what I mean? Like, right now, I'm totally fine with that because you know that's not my place, and that's not why I did this anyway. You know what I mean? I could have easily been like, "This is Joey Bats presents Hip Hop for the Homeless. Come watch me rap for 4 hours." You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I never wanted that to be the thing at all. I mean, the first 2 or 3 years was all about like talented people that were on the cusp of doing something great, but could not get on stages that they wanted to get on.
Right.
No, it was a beautiful thing to do that. So,
well, speaking of those talented people, why don't we highlight a couple of them right now? Who do we have to look forward to, especially with these new shows coming up in the spring and different stuff like that? Who should we be on the lookout for? Like, when we go to the Heartbeat Festival, and you guys have your stage and your set, which is on the same stage as us.
Nice.
We're very happy about that. Very happy about that. You know, you stage and your set. Who's the standout? Who is the, you know, obviously I'm there to see everybody, but who's the favorite child is what I'm asking.
And yeah, no one. I can't answer that question. No one's the favorite child. The favorite child would be the DJ, because without
There you
in hip
go.
hop,
There you
without a
go.
DJ,
Without a
nobody gets to
DJ,
play.
no one plays anything.
I can't bang on my drums or play my guitar. Um, we're really excited to have, Lord Cooks, who's a former student of mine, who's also like a really, really dope performer. He's a dope songwriter. He's got a bunch of new music on. Lord, spelled Lord, and then Cooks, Cookz. That's been a lot of fun. We've definitely played some shows in the past, but I'm really looking for him to step it up and take it to the next level this summer. I'm excited for that. The homie Dre got the blues, and I have done some shows together now in the past 2 years. He's a Windsor Bloomfield kid who went to college in upstate New York and came back. So we've been
There you
trying
go.
to we've been trying to get him on more shows. So I'm really excited about that. And then there's another artist who oh man, I'm gonna get this wrong. I think he's definitely down in like the New Haven County. It might be Meriden, maybe, question mark. Nico Fuego.
Okay.
Who's like really, really incredible. I don't know if we've talked about the Heartbeat Festival just yet, but I know that we're gonna do some work with him in the future. The Southington show is definitely happening with the homie Nick Rose, who works and lives out there. He also plays a lot in New Britain. He's got a dope voice. He's got one of those just like radio voices.
That's awesome.
Yeah, more singer songwriter stuff, but like just really and really, really fire, and it goes a long way, and it also breaks up the monotony of listening to rappers for 4 or 5 hours. And then you also have some of the guys that I just played this past weekend with, East Coast, Aramis Wave, Stone Jones. Those guys are great. They could all do individual sets, but sometimes when time is permitting, they kind of do like an amalgamation of like all of their songs in one really super tight set, and they have songs together with one another, and they have really good chemistry. And yeah, it's really cool when I get to put artists that people might not ever see. I get to put them in front of them and put them on a stage, and I'm thankful for that. You know what I mean? I truly, truly am. And the Heartbeat Festival is one of those things that like goes a really long way, because people are just like, wow, these guys are rapping, and they're not like, Paul Rapper the rapper, but they could keep it clean, right? They keep it clean, and they're rapping in front of like my 7-year-old daughter, who really appreciates this and who is dancing along and recognizes that hip hop can have positive energy and fun energy, and not we're being entertainers. We're not being like, I'm rapping and you can rap too. Like, it's not cornball stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like we're actually rapping, and not every single rap song has to be the rap song that parents are afraid of. I'm effing my P and my B and my MF. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that. You know what I mean? So it's cool that people get to see that for the first time with local talent. Yeah. Like, I can't, it's not Kid Bop. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are local folks. These are guys that you could see. People see me at Stop and Shop all the time. They're like, yo, I remember when you rapped about my daughter's tiara. That was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, that's a real thing. You feel me? So it's cool if I could give people the same local fame that I have. I love being able to give them that alley-oop,
I also love the fact that you gave the
103.5 FM New Haven, and I don't love the fact that I interrupted my partner in crime, EZ BlueZ. Go ahead, Easy.
Well, I love the fact that you just dropped the hardest Sesame Street bar in the entire world.
That was fire. That was really good.
F and my P and my B and my MF. Yeah.
That facts. Sesame. Elmo's like, yo, give me a pen.
Yeah. You went to private school. Yeah.
But no, this is what's so incredible is, there's this journey that you're going forward with, and I'm a fan. I mean, I've been pretty much fangirling this entire time, if I'm being honest. But what you're doing and how you're doing it as part of the culture itself is what I really want people to highlight, because it's not just about, changing, like you say, your statement isn't just changing the stigma of homelessness, but it's also changing the stigma of hip hop as well. And it's doing that so well. And I look forward to seeing, the 7-year-olds jamming out to, that was something that I was worried about, because like I have a horrible mouth most times. So when they're like, you can't, you got to stay family friendly, I was like, I'm going to take the next month and just say all the bad words humanly possible. So I'm exhausted and I don't want to say any more bad words. You know what I mean? So I love the fact that, you guys are stepping up and hitting that evolution, because there's a whole bunch of people like, look, man, I came up through the 90s where there was more beeps than there were words for a lot of stuff you heard on the radio.
Yeah.
It's
definitely like one of the coolest things, and I'm sure this is both my success and both myself as I age, and also getting a wonderful opportunity with my fiance and her having children, and just being in that stepdad role, and also being in that teacher role. You know what I mean? Like the one of the biggest things that I leave my students with for as long as I've been teaching is, I don't care if you could write an essay. I don't care how well you write an introductory paragraph. Like, I'm an English teacher, but it stops there. You know what I mean? Like, we all have this incredible responsibility to be a productive and nice, above all, a nice member of the human race. Like, we have to, at the very least, when it's all stripped away, like, that's where it has to be. And you don't achieve that if you don't think about the other person at least once per minute. You have to, at every moment in your life, you have to think about whether it's someone on stage with you, whether it's someone who might hear your music, whether it's someone who's in the audience, whether it's someone who's driving next to you, whether it's someone who's making your coffee, whether I mean, I could go on and on. You guys know you're not dumb. The listeners aren't dumb. Like, you cannot be so aloof, and you cannot be so, blinded by what's happening. Like, you're not player one. We're not all, we can't all be player one. You know what I'm saying? So like, that alone is the beautiful thing about what we do. And as an OG now, and as someone who's been doing this for so long, like, that's the only thing I tell them is, like, I'm not going to tell you how to rock on stage. I'm not going to tell you how to promote your brand. I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but you have to recognize that what you're doing as an artist, as a man, as a woman, as a human being, has ripple effects. Everything has ripple effects. You know what I mean? So that is kind of like my mantra these days. And I try to be real zen when I think about, like, what am I doing, and how does it impact others at all points, positive or negative? You know what I mean? And it's gone a long way in people recognizing, like, what we're doing. And I think it creates better artists, better performances, and also just like better humans. You know what I mean? Because they're going through life like thinking like, oh, okay, I should be mindful of this. I shouldn't joke about this. I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't be mean to there. I shouldn't be cold-hearted here. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that shows up with the product and what we're doing. And that's been a big step in my longevity and in my success, because I think people recognize that, and they know that I don't have ulterior motives. You know what I mean? The beautiful thing about like what we're doing with Heartbeat, right? Like, we're putting any of our selfishness aside, and we're doing something for a bigger community. We're doing something for a bigger thing. And there's just no room. There's just no room to be like mean. Like, be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, just be a nice person, be a good person. You know what I'm saying?
And it's so interesting too, because like, even with doing the Heartbeat Festival, reaching out and be like, hey, we want to put some of the artists on for interviews for the Heartbeat Festival. And so the artists are like, what do you mean? You're being nice to us? Why would you be so nice to us? Because that's what we're supposed to be doing. There's so many people that are like suspect, like, well, what do I have to do? I was like, you have to show up. That's all. Just show up.
Yeah. Or the flip side of that is the people who don't want to be part of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Who don't want to be part of it. You want me to do what? Like, or you know, you're only paying me this much. Like, I don't want to be a part. They don't see it.
Right.
And they might. I have hope for
Mhm.
them. I have hope for them that they might, or they might get it. Or even people who are just like, I'm down, but you know, I can't go on first, or I don't
Right.
want the time slot. I deal with it too. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I deal with it too. Yo, I got my homies coming, but they're not pulling up till 11:30. Like, don't put me on at 9. Like, that's not my problem, bro. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
Like,
Tell your homies
That's
to show
true.
up earlier. Like
you know what
I
I mean? Or like, yeah, like your homies aren't coming just for your set. Like, I
yeah.
respect you and your music, and how much you like your friends and how supportive they are, but you got to teach them the skill of being supportive towards everybody. You
Yeah,
know
being
what I mean?
disciplined. Yeah,
Yeah, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly. Because you might find something dope. Imagine only
Yeah.
listening to the music that you want to listen to.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I would have never discovered that. You know what I'm
That's
Right.
saying?
true.
Would have never discovered that, bro. You can find me in traffic singing Tiny Dancer. Like, I'm here for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm here for that. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one of those things. You know what I mean? That's kind of one of those things.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's what
we
I love
gotta
about
wrap
doing
up
it.
though. We gotta wrap up
Of
though.
course we do. Of course
We
we
gotta
do.
wrap up though. Sorry
Sorry,
about that.
friends.
Apollo curtain is coming towards us.
Yeah.
Joey, we want to give this last couple minutes to you. Um, please plug and replug anything you got coming up with your music, with Hip Hop for Homeless, everything within that nature. Also, please give out social media, anything for anybody to reach you and hit you up, and you know whatever networking may be, and some inspirational advice for someone who wants to go to a similar path as yours. This time is yours.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks so much, guys, for a great interview.
No
Super
doubt.
comfortable, and I'm sure we could have definitely talked for another 2 or 4 hours. That's definitely a lot of fun. Rap Joey Batts, RapJoeyBatts is really where you can find me. Super famous. You could just Google my name and it'll show up. I would love for you to check out my music. I would love for you to kind of just take a look at some of the stuff that I'm working on. I'm doing a lot of collaborations as well. So hopefully you could find the people's music that I'm working with as well. Hip Hop for the Homeless, all one words. For is spelled out FOR. You could find that on Instagram and Facebook as well. hiphopforthehomeless.org, because we're official. Check that out if you want to do a donation, or if you want to see where the next show is, or even if you want to look at some videos and some photos and some press from our previous events. We definitely got that going. We have the Heartbeat Festival coming up. We'll put more information for our shows coming up on the website. Definitely look for us this July and August. We will definitely be having our very first outside summer block party. I just don't know how big it's going to be, but it'll definitely happen, and you could put my word on that. But as far as final words, I think I said a lot of what I said already. It's an incredible feeling to put others and other ideas and other things before yourself. You know, religion aside, faith aside, you know, karma aside, whatever it is that you believe in, it could be the smallest thing. It could be one of those stupid, you know, I'm buying the guy's coffee behind me in the drive-through. You would be so surprised at how different you feel once you do anything for someone else, you know, helping that old lady get her 32, you know, pack of waters into her trunk so she doesn't have to strain. The smallest thing, the smallest thing. This is how we remain human, and this is how our society remains, you know, sentient and connected, so we don't all fall down like that crude, ugly digital rabbit hole where we're just checking out things through our screens. We have to continue to use our eyes. We have to continue to use our ears in that environment, or we will fall apart, and we do not want that.
No, we don't. But we will continue to support Joey Batts here on WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Preston, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City Made, Mr. EZ BlueZ. Appreciate everyone. Thank you so much.
Your attention. Your attention. This is Joey Batts the Magnificent. you should be startled to hear my voice. If it's any slight consolation, you've got plenty of company. You see, in this, the culmination of years of genius, I have perfected my greatest experiment. Absolute control of every loudspeaker in a world which has persecuted me with undying resolution.
Bullheaded man, head full of sand, got spikes coming out of these bumps in his hand. Is he grand? A bird? Did he land? You big leaguing, bro? Cock in hand. I heard Halifax come with more rat-a-tats than any other hood where the cats go brat. Matter of fact, move band with dance, where the band will dance for the camera lens. Zoom in rooms where the goons will soon dig tombs for the loons that had built their doom. I've been here, 2 feet cracked on pavement, probably with spaghetti stains, man adjacent. Too many songs don't sound like spaceship. Heavy is the rolliest, poliest pavement. Gabagool to Italian chain. Need tool, need school, need a lot of fame. Night check, check the hooves, lot to save. Mic check, you lose, got to say. Appreciate these, more birds than saying C's. Brain leaks, more words than plain sheets. Lines overhead, my thoughts are tall trees. Lines go to bed, I talk like I sleep. Heavy rem, solid G like in phlegm. Zimzalabim, I've been hotter than loose spice pimento. Sorry, friendo, it's all crescendo. Lose momentum, you just memento. Let that rattle around your cranial now. When the dark thoughts of doom have you wondering how. The doubt produces things and then nourishes them. I encourage the zen. Fine, go to bed, off with your head. Guillotine, intervene, and remember the beam.
And now here's Joey Bats with the weather. I got the bell. Back to you, Joey Bats.